Alright guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be answering one very simple question. Should you play a Warlock in Classic Wrath of the Lich King? These are the topics we're going to be covering in the video. So first of all, the new spells and the new big spell changes, key talent changes and new glyphs, their viability in a raiding environment, and obviously their difficulty. By the way guys, if you're looking for an extremely good gold making and leveling guide for Wrath of the Lich King, you'll find information to all of that in the description down below. But anyway, let's jump into the video. So the Warlock, they bring great damage to the raid, they bring great utility in the form of debuffs and now also buffs to the raid. Affliction and Demonology are way more viable than Destruction. Destruction is more of a PvP spec, so the tables really have turned. Affliction isn't just about putting your dots up and then spamming Shadow Bolt. It's a bit more complicated than that in Wrath of the Lich King. It has a lot more depth. Obviously you do have to put your dots up, but then you can also increase their damage with a new ability called Haunt, and you can also roll your corruption over for whenever you benefit from crit chance. Demonology focuses on pet management. You'd be glad to know that it's much easier to keep your pets alive now. Avoidance has been buffed to 90% and given to all of your pets. With demonic sacrifice gone, keeping your pet out for all specs is the play, so Warlock is finally now a proper pet class the way it should be. In this spec, again, you keep your dots up, it's still a dot class, you spam Shadow Bolt, but in Wrath you now also get Molten Core procs that proc off your corruption ticks that increase the damage of Incinerate, so you can weave in Shadow Bolt and Incinerate. Destruction is actually the best burst DPS in the game with its Chaos Bolt. It's one of the hardest hitting abilities in the game, but the sustained DPS just isn't that great, so it slacks behind the other specs in a raiding environment. However, the Destruction Warlock can be utterly lethal in Arena in comps like LSD, where there's a lot of CC to allow the Warlock to get his Chaos Bolts off. Now let's talk about all the brand spanking new spells. First of all, we have Chaos Bolt, which is a 2-second cast on a 12-second cooldown, deals 1.6 to 2k fire damage, and it cannot be resisted and pierces through all absorption effects. Next we have Haunt, which is on a 1.5 second cast with an 8-second cooldown. It's on a ghostly soul into the target to deal 700 to 800 damage, increasing all damage done by a shadow damage effects on the target by 20% by 12 seconds. And also when Haunt is dispelled, it will actually return all the damage done as healing to you. We also have Demonic Circle, which is split into two abilities. Basically, the first ability is you plop a little rune on the floor, and then whenever you want, you can teleport back up to that rune. This is great in PvP because you can teleport up back onto a platform. We also have Shadow Flame. It's a little bit like Breath of Fire without the disorientate effect, and it just deals damage and then also puts a little cheeky dot on the target too. And this can be consumed by Conflagrate. Next we have Demonic Empowerment. So this is quite a big ability because it does different effects based on what pet you have summoned. So first of all, your Imp increases your Imp's spell crit by 20% for 30 seconds. Increases your Voidwalker's health by 20% and its threat generated from spells and attacks by 20% for 20 seconds. Instantly vanishes, causing the succubus to go into improved invisibility state. The vanish effect removes all stun, snares and movement impairing effects from the succubus. Dispels all magic effects from the Fell Hunter, and then for the Fell Guard, increases the Fell Guard's attack speed by 20% and breaks all stun, snare and movement impairing effects and makes your Fell Guard immune to them for 15 seconds. And the last new spell before we move on to new pet spells is Metamorphosis, probably one of the coolest, most fun abilities in Wrath of the Lich King. You transform into a demon for 30 seconds. This form increases your armor contribution from items by 600%, damage by 20%, reduce the chance you'll be critically hit by melee attacks by 6%, reduce the duration of stun and snare effects by 50%. You also get some new cool spells like Challenging Howl, which is an AoE taunt. You get a charge ability that also stuns the target for 3 seconds. You get Immolation Aura, which just constantly deals fire damage to anyone near you. You've also got Shadow Cleave that cleaves the closest 3 targets, whether they're friendly or enemies, so be careful with that one. Let's take a little look at the pet abilities, starting with the Fell Hunter. So first we have Fell Intelligence, that increases party raid members' intellect by 52 and also their spirit by 70. Then we also have Shadow Bite. It bites the target dealing damage, but also extra shadow damage for an additional 15% for each of your dots on the target. And every other pet just has the same abilities, to be honest, apart from Soothing Kiss, also reducing the attack speed on the target a bit like Thunderclap. Now let's smash through all of the big spell changes. So first of all, Curse of Doom. When it kills the target with the damage of Curse of Doom, it will then also summon a Doom Guard, a bit like that boss from Mount Hydril, which is pretty cool. Curse of Wreck has actually been combined into Curse of Weakness. Drain Soul will now deal 4 times as much damage in the execute phase. Firestones and Spellstones act more like a weapon or now than something you equip in your offhand. Demon Armor increases armor and has the extra health regeneration effect on it, taken off Fel Armor, and now Fel Armor adds base spell power but then converts your spirit stat into spell power, and then you also regenerate 2 to 3% max health every 5 seconds, a bit like the Sacrifice Voidwalker effect. Fel Domination is now a 2.1 minute cooldown. Siphon Life has been combined into Corruption. Curse of Exhaustion is a flat 30% movement speed reduction, not talented. And Conflag is changed slightly. It consumes an Immolate or Shadow Flame dot for 60% of the damage of that Immolate or Shadow Flame, and an extra 40% extra damage over 6 seconds. Now let's cover all the big talent changes, starting with the Affliction tree. So the Corruption talent has been changed to just increases damage because now Corruption is in instant cast by default. We have improved Fel Hunter deeper into Infliction, which basically means you go for a Fel Hunter when you're playing Affliction. Your Fel Hunter regains 4% maximum mana each time it hits with its Shadow Bite ability, and the cooldown of that ability reduced by 2 seconds, in addition to increasing the effect of your Fel Hunter's Fel Intelligence by 5%. Talents like Shadow Mastery also increase the Fel Hunter's Shadow Bite damage. Death's Embrace is going to further increase your execute damage. We also have Everlasting Affliction, which basically causes your abilities to refresh the duration of corruptions. You don't need to keep refreshing it. You're only going to really refresh it when you get spell power procs and everything like that. The first great talent in the Demonology tree is a leveling talent called Fel Synergy. 50% of all the damage that you deal heals your pet. This is the tier 5 set bonus now as a talent. Master Demonologist talent has changed massively. So first of all, your Imp. Increased fire damage by 5%, increases your crit chance of all your fire spells also by 5%. Voidwalker reduces physical damage by 10%. Succubus increases the shadow damage by 5%, increases the crit of your shadow spells by 5%. Fel Hunter reduces all spell damage taken by 10%. And then Felguard increases all damage done by 5% and reduces all damage taken by 5%. Next we have a key talent, Molten Core. This is detrimental to changing the Demonology Warlock rotation. Basically, when your corruption is taken away, it has a chance to proc Molten Core. This will boost the damage of Incinerate and Soulfire, so you can use Incinerate normally, but then Soulfire in the execute phase. And at the bottom of the tree we have Demonic Pact. Increase your spell damage by 10%, and your pet's crits apply the Demonic Pact effect to your entire raid. And what it does is increases their spell power by 10%. For 45 seconds, but it has an internal 20-second cooldown. In the Destruction tree we have Molten Skin, 6% damage reduction. Ruin now also affects your Imp's Firebolt. This basically means when you're in Destruction you go for the Imp. Soul Leech has an improved effect that is also going to regenerate your mana and also provides a little mana regeneration buff to the entire raid. The new talent Backdraft reduces the global cooldown and the cast speed of the next 3 Destruction spells by 30%. We also have Empowered Imp, which just drastically increases the Imp's damage. Now let's talk about the notable glyphs. So first of all we have Glyph of Quick Decay. Your haste now reduces the time between periodic damage takes of your corruption spell. Basically allows your corruption to benefit from your haste stat. It's very overpowered indeed. Glyph of Life Tap. When you use Life Tap or Dark Patch, you gain 20% of the spirit as spell power for 40 seconds. Glyph of Haunt very simply boosts the damage of your Haunt spell by an additional 3%. Siphon Life increases the healing you receive from your Siphon Life talent by an extra 25%. Drain Soul will occasionally create an additional Soul Shard. Unending Breath will increase your swim speed by 20%. Glyph of Souls reduces the mana cost of your Ritual Souls by 70%. And then we have Metamorphosis. This glyph very simply increases the duration of it by 6 seconds. And lastly, let's talk a little bit about the viability and difficulty of the specs. So Affliction and Demonology, they are the go-to raiding specs. Demonology brings that great spell power buff to the raid with Demonic Pact. Affliction also has the intellect and spirit buff with its Fel Hunter. People say Affliction is better, but on private servers they had bigger execute phases because the HP pools of the bosses were increased, so that boosts the damage of Affliction quite a lot. So that's just something to bear in mind. What we do know for certain is Destruction is much less viable than Affliction and Demonology, but it's really good because of its insane burst damage with PvP. It's going to be very fun in Battlegrounds, but also, like I said before, in certain arena compositions where a Destruction Warlock is allowed to absolutely pop off with its Chaos Bolts. When it comes to difficulty, I would say Affliction is the most technical spec, and then Demonology is a bit less technical than Affliction, and then Destruction is the more simpler spec of all of the three. But anyway guys, that is going to be the end of the video there. My name is MetaGoblin. To my next video, ciao.